Hey friend, today's topic is money. More specifically, something nobody openly tells you, what actually happens on the other side of the table during salary negotiation and what your salary is actually determined by. You think about how much you deserve, but HR thinks about how much they have to give. These are not the same thing, and not knowing this difference costs you thousands of dollars a year. If the salary budget HR ends up being lower than what you wanted, that's a perfect outcome for HR because they get to have someone do the same job for less cost, which means they've made a profit. I'm the auditor. I've been inside HR for 6 years. I've seen how many people accept the first offer without ever questioning it, and how many people walk away with far more from that exact same budget. The difference wasn't salary expectation. The difference was whether or not they knew the rules of the game. This isn't a motivational video. This is an audit report. Today, I'm telling you what actually gets discussed on the other side of the table, what's negotiable, and what never gets said out loud. Rule 1. Whoever says the first number loses the advantage. If you're the first to state your salary expectation, you've started the negotiation, but you've also handed control to the other side. Because the number you say becomes the ceiling of the negotiation from that point on. It's hard for it to go higher, but very easy for it to get pulled down. I've seen this over and over in HR. Candidates who honestly give a number when asked what are your expectations usually end up with an offer below budget. Whereas candidates who say, could I first learn more about the details of the role and the budget range, get the other side to reveal their position first, and then steer it toward what they actually want. If you absolutely have to say a number, it's more advantageous to research the market salary range for that position thoroughly beforehand and give a range instead. Practical takeaway: turn the question back around. Saying what's the budget range allocated for this position never makes you look bad. On the contrary, it makes you look professional. Rule 2. The budget is decided before you even walk into the room. When you sit down for a salary discussion, the person across from you appears to be negotiating with you, but most of the time they already have an approved upper limit in hand. Going above that limit requires a special approval process, which is usually avoided because it's a hassle. Knowing this doesn't weaken you, it does the opposite. Speaking with the awareness that a budget already exists stops you from second-guessing yourself and wondering, am I asking for too much? Rule 3. Your power comes from your alternatives, not your need. The moment HR senses how much you need this job, your negotiating power drops. Knowing you have another offer in hand, or that you're already satisfied in your current job, fundamentally changes how the other side behaves. Letting the other side sense that you desperately need the job, that you're in a difficult situation, that you're struggling to find work, gives them the advantage of setting your salary however they want. I ran into exactly this situation in my early years. There was a position with a salary ceiling of $10,000 and 2 people were going to be hired for it. One of the 2 candidates who came in mentioned their difficult situation, said they really needed the job. They had sufficient skills and qualifications for the role. When asked about salary expectations, they said $7,000, but the recruiter used that difficult situation, said they really wanted them, and said the most they could offer was $5,000, and the candidate had no choice but to accept. The other candidate made it clear that they were doing well, that we needed them more than they needed us, and because they came in having done their market research properly, they were hired at $9,500. Both were in the exact same job, the exact same position, and they worked for years without ever knowing about that salary gap. This doesn't mean you need to constantly switch jobs. It means knowing your own market value and reflecting it calmly at the table. Rule 4. Silence is a negotiation tool. When an offer comes in, you don't have to immediately say, "Okay," or immediately counter. Even a short silence, even just saying, "Let me think about this," often causes the other side to improve the offer on their own. People get uncomfortable with silence and want to fill that gap. Rule 5. It's not just salary. Everything is negotiable. Most people only focus on net salary. But signing bonuses, remote work days, job title, annual leave, performance review timelines, all of these can be put on the table. Sometimes the salary budget is fixed, while these other areas can be far more flexible. Rule 6. HR always has a range in hand, not a single number. The first number you're told is almost never the highest number they can give. It's usually the low or middle point of a range. Knowing this means you should ask again before accepting the first offer. Rule 7. Your first offer shapes your trajectory for years. If you start a job with a low salary, future raises usually get added as a percentage on top of that low base, meaning your entry point directly affects your long-term earnings. That's why the first negotiation isn't a one-time moment. It's the moment that determines the financial trajectory of your career. Which of these 7 rules surprised you the most? Write it in the comments. Every week on this channel, we talk about how to protect your career with real observations from inside HR. No exaggeration, no fluff. Subscribe, because in the next audit report, I'm covering what HR actually looks at in the first 6 seconds of seeing your resume.